Welcome to Programming by Practicing, where my aim is to take you from a novice to an expert in a single day. So let's get started. So, in one of the previous lessons, we learned all about directories, how to create folders, how to delete folders, how to get the children, how to traverse through them. I'll have a link for that video as one of the YouTube cards. And in this lesson, let's learn about file manipulation. And I guarantee you that with the knowledge you acquire in this session as well as the directory video, you will become an expert in file system manipulation. Okay, let's get started. So the first thing which I want to teach you guys is how to open a simple file, and if that file doesn't exist, then we need to create it. So the command which I want to teach you guys is called new. Okay, let's start with new, and let me give a file name rhymes.txt. I want to open it in write-only mode. So what this does is it actually creates the file if it doesn't exist. Okay, let's just execute the script ruby file.rb, and if I put dar, it created a file rhymes.txt. But the thing is, I want to actually open it and then do operations on it. For that I use this function File.open, and it's a block function in that if you give a variable name, you can actually open it, perform operations on it using the file variable, and then once you've done it, once this block is exited, Ruby automatically closes the file for you. You can even use File.new for this or File.open outside of this without using the brackets, but however you need to assign this to a variable, and then you need to perform all the operations, and you need to do File.close in order to close the resource. To avoid all this, we use the shortcut, which is the block method. Okay, so we'll open the rhymes.txt which we just created. Ruby will automatically create it if it doesn't exist, and now we want to write some data into it. For that, I'm going to use the function putc, and I'm going to put twinkle twinkle little star. You can also use the function file.put_print, but the difference is print appends the line without putting a new line at the end. So twinkle twinkle little star. Oh god, I forgot the rhymes. How I wonder what you are. Okay, and now I'm gonna put a character. For that, you can use putc. I'm gonna put a full stop. Once I exit this block, Ruby has created the file and entered these files, and now if I want to read it, there's a simple function called file.read, and I give the file name, which is rhymes.txt. Now let's execute it. It actually created the file, added the lines, and print actually entered all these lines till this e character, and putc entered the dot character at the end. Now instead of reading the entire contents of the file using file.read, we can read them individually by using other smaller functions. For that, let me just open the file again, rhymes.txt, but this time I want to open it in read-only mode so that I don't accidentally write anything to it. Again, I define a block f, shortcutting the variable, a small name this time, and now you can do f dot, instead of putc, we use the counterpart getc. You can also use f dot getc, and now if you execute this script, you will get the first line and then the first character of the second line of how I wonder what you are. Now if you are done with your file, you can always use file.delete to delete the file, and if you execute this one and put dar, the file is gone. Some systems support truncate, which just instead of deleting the file, it removes the entire contents of the file. You can just give a blank function, or you can give the integers, but since I deleted the file, I won't execute that now. Instead, let's go on to some conditional operation. So let's start by creating a new file. So we use let me define a file name. Let me say f.txt, and I'm gonna create this file underscore name, and if I put it write-only mode, then it automatically creates it if it doesn't exist, and I execute ruby file.rb. It created the file f.txt. Let me delete all the other useless files. So f.txt is there, and it has been created with an empty size. There are no contents inside. Now if I want to read and write this, I use put as file.read as always, and file name let me put contents so that it's a bit more clearer what I'm trying to achieve. If I clear the screen and execute it, Ruby actually prints contents but with a blank value. That doesn't look good. So what I can use is if file.empty, and I give the file name as parameter. So now Ruby will only execute this command if the file is non-empty. So let me execute this. Oh right, if not. And Ruby didn't print the string. Now if you just wanna check for the presence of a file and you don't care whether it's empty or not, then use the function file.exists, so that if file exists, file name, you read the file and then you print the output. So let's try this. It prints the output. Now there's another utility function which you have called size, that actually gives you, so if I try to put as file.size and then the file name, this actually gives you the integer value telling you how many bytes are there inside the file. And you can also use that as a conditional operator using file.size ? and then file name. What this does is it actually converts the file.size into a conditional operation, which would give you an integer if the file is non-empty or nil if it's empty. And you can use the nil in an if condition stating that if this condition evaluates to a nil value, then Ruby doesn't enter this block and print it. So let's just execute this. So as you can see, file.size printed 0, and when we used it as a conditional, it didn't even enter this block. There are some utility functions available which you can use to check whether a file is indeed a file or not. So this gives true, but if I give a directory, this gives false. You can use these functions such as this one. A counterpart of this is called directory, which should say it's true. These are Boolean operators which you can use in your everyday file system scripts to make sure that the file supplied by a user or the file you want to read or write from is indeed actually a file. It's not a directory, and sometimes you want to make sure that it is readable, so you use the function file.readable, which says it's true, and then writable, which says whether the file is writable or not, and then executable. Usually let me give something like time.rb, I guess. So if I execute that, it says the file is non-executable. Now there are functions provided by Ruby in order to check absolute path or the directory or the file extension of a particular file object which you want. And let's start with ext name, which gives you I have a file called time.rb here. So if I execute this script, it's actually going to give me the extension of time.rb. Oh yeah, putc command. This is actually going to give me .rb. Now if I want to know the absolute path of this one, then I give ruby.filename and use the function absolute_path. It gives me the absolute file path of this particular file. You can also use dar name to find out the directory in which this file is present, which is dot, which stands for the current working directory. And you can use base name to just get the name of a file. Let's execute the base name command. It just gives me the base file name of that. If I give /, still it gives me time.rb. Thank you guys for your time. Once you practice what we've learned today, do check out the quiz in the description box to make sure you understood everything thoroughly. And if you found this video helpful, please like this video and do subscribe to my channel. If you have any questions, do comment them below and I will answer all of them as fast as I can.